consultant. I'm here today to record a 45-minute long vinyasa flow sequence for everybody to join along with. I'm going to provide this video for free and put it on all of my social media channels, so I hope that anybody watching is ready and excited to join in with me. As usual, the flow is going to target neck mobility and lower back tension. A lot of my friends are tattoo artists and consultants and creatives, so it's a lot of sitting and a lot of hunching positions, which I'm going to try to undo a little bit with this sequence that I'll be providing. It's not going to be super easy, but it's not going to be very difficult either. I'm going to put in a little bit of a fast-paced sequence through the middle, just so that we're all challenged and we have something that really works us through all of our different mobility points. So I am happy to be able to provide this for everybody. I hope that you enjoy, and if you're ready, go ahead and grab a mat or just find a comfortable space in your house that you can join in with me. And we'll go ahead and start this flow in child's pose. So to do that, bring your hips over your heels and then your knees out wide towards the width of the mat. Walk your hands forward all the way towards the front. And then bring your head down so you're resting your third eye on the mat. You can find a little bit of movement here. Rocking back and forth over your third eye and massaging that frontal lobe. Using your fingers to walk up a little bit more, finding a lengthening and a stretch through your spine. Creating a little bit of pull through your fingertips as you continue to drag your tailbone towards your feet. Feeling all of that extension through the spine here. And then walking your hands over towards the right side of the mat. Left hand comes over the right hand and creating a stretch through the left side of the body. Inhaling and exhaling should be deep and purposeful. Through your nose if possible. Staying in these opening poses for a couple of extra breaths to connect from our minds into our bodies. Inhaling, walking your hands back towards the middle of the mat, and then exhaling, bringing your hands over to the left. Right hand goes over the left. Creating that tension through the right side. And continuing to breathe deeply here, connecting our breath to our postures. It's one of the best ways to regulate the central nervous system and begin to have control over our mind-body connections throughout the day. Walking your hands back towards the center and inching your fingers up once again, still breathing deeply through your nose. With inhales and exhales. And then bringing your hands to rest at the back of your spine, interlacing your fingers here, and slowly starting to come up into a seated position. Continuing to hold your fingers together at the base of your spine. And then bringing your knees back together so you are seated over your knees, looking long ways on your mat. Keeping your hands interlaced at the lower back, and then peeling up so your chest goes up towards the ceiling, and beginning to feel this extension through your shoulders and into your arms, putting a little bit of movement into it here if that feels And then exhaling, releasing your hands, coming up to a straight spine position. And then inhaling your arms up and overhead, interlacing your fingers once again, bringing your palms out towards the top of the ceiling. Inhaling, reaching up, and exhaling, bringing your hands over towards the right side of your mat. Again, feeling this extension through the left, trying to square your shoulders. Continuing your breath cycles in and out of your nose with equal inhales and exhales, and then coming back up towards center at the top of your mat. Dipping over to the left side and feeling the extension through the right. Inhaling and exhaling again through your nose, holding these postures for a couple extra breaths to really feel in, and then inhaling all the way back up towards center. Exhale, releasing your hands and bringing them down by your side. Inhale, we're just going to take the right elbow and bring it up towards the ceiling, using our left hand to find a little bit of traction and stretching into the right side shoulder here. This is where I feel a lot of sensation because I have carpal tunnel, and that creates a lot of tension through my right hand, and that gets held in my right shoulder. Swapping out, so left shoulder, left elbow comes up, grabbing the right and pulling that back. So these shoulder stretches help to release a little bit of that tension. Try to keep your shoulder blades down while you're doing this. I know I'm a little bit of do as I say, not as I do in these situations, but keeping your shoulder blades down, your back, spine long, left elbow up towards the ceiling, and then exhaling those both back down. We're gonna take an old stretch. I know you've probably seen this one before, but just bring your right hand out in front of you and take your left arm to create tension through the right shoulder. Again, trying to really target the areas that we're getting a lot of overuse in between typing or holding a cell phone or a tattoo gun. Release that, left hand comes up and straight, use the right to guide it over to the side. And so spending a little bit of time just digging into those areas of mobility, whether it's the wrists or the shoulders, is what's going to allow all of us to have longevity in our careers by counteracting these repetitive movements. Exhale that down, and then come from a seated position. We're gonna go into a tabletop. For tabletop, you want to keep your hips over your knees, shoulders over your wrists. Long spine here. I can be a little bit guilty of falling out of a long spine in a tabletop position, so I will try to keep my own stomach up. And let's start by just a few cat-cows. Exhaling your spine all the way up to the ceiling. Try to really find as much extension here as you can. And then inhaling, dropping your spine all the way down, rolling your shoulders up, chest goes up towards the ceiling. Find a bow in your spine here. Exhaling back up, rounding that spine like a little kitter-cutter all the way up towards the ceiling. And then inhaling back up, chest up towards the ceiling. Exhale, and take a couple rounds here on your own. And then we're going to switch the hands to come all the way back to us. This is a great pose in tabletop. If you ever just want to jump into it during the day, finding a little bit of organic, intuitive circles, however you want to put movement in. But turning your wrists around, fingers towards your knees, and creating some tension here really helps to quickly release and counteract some of that tension created from this type of emotion. So finding a little bit more movement here, and then pointing those fingers back up, inhaling the right arm up and exhaling that hand underneath. Feeling that stretch through the right shoulder, and then you can take your left arm up and around if you want to really emphasize the sensation through the right, continuing to breathe deeply through your nose, nourishing yourself through these sequences so your brain stops to connect it with pain and starts to connect it with sensations of goodness. So exhale, that left hand back down, right hand goes back up into a tabletop, inhaling the left hand up and back. Exhale, shoots that under, right arm comes forward, holding here, creating that sensation through the left side. And then right arm comes back, creating as much torque as you want or can handle through that left shoulder. Staying here for a couple more breaths. I'm trying to get out of it early, and that's no fair for me. And then inhaling back up to a tabletop position, walking your hands forward into a puppy pose. Hips stay over. I'm gonna just swap my hair so you can see my face. Hips stay over knees for this. Hands walk forward. Really feeling that push down in your spine. Chest tries to release all the way towards the mat. Continuing your inhales and your exhales through your nose and trying to make sure that you're following the sound of my voice and not paying attention to any of the other thoughts in your mind. If you've made a commitment to be here on your yoga mat, stay with it. And then pushing back up into a tabletop position, we're going to curl our toes under our feet and just come up for a hover, holding your knees a couple inches over the mat, trying to keep your spine long here again. It should be as flat as possible considering the hover. I'm going to keep us here for just an extra moment until it's a touch uncomfortable, because I want everybody to be building some extra core strength, which will help in posture in seated positions to keep the spine straight. If this is starting to feel spicy, that's great. Now go ahead and bring it up into an upward dog, into a downward dog by bringing your hips all the way up towards the ceiling. And then go ahead and walk it into both of those feet. You should have your ankles as wide as the outside of your hip bones. Hands are at your shoulder width distance. Fingers are extenuated. First finger and thumb are in an L position. And really just have fun here for a moment. Feel that sensation through the back of the legs. What's it like to bend? What's it like to straighten? Where can you square off your shoulders? Is there more straightening or lengthening in your spine? Continuing the inhales and exhales through your nose. And again, checking back into the sound of my voice instead of wherever your mind might be at this moment. Go ahead and walk your feet slowly up towards your hands. We're going to go into a ragdoll position. Grab both of your elbows and then fold forward, releasing. Trying to put as much weight into your toes and making sure you're connecting with all four corners of your feet. Finding a little bit of movement here to help shake out that lower back. These forward folds are the best you can do for lower back pain. Nod your head yes and shake it no. Get a little bit of wiggles in there if you want. And then when you're ready, go ahead and exhale, release your elbows, but bring your hands to clasp behind your lower back. taking those knuckles up towards the ceiling and really finding an even greater stretch downwards. I can tip forward into my toes even more as I'm saying to do that. Keeping a bend in your knees if that's helpful, but really trying to release as low as possible down into the fold here so that the hips and lower back are starting to get sensation. And then keeping your hands clasped, we're going to roll up vertebrae by vertebrae, rounding our spine to be able to do that. But then slowly coming up all the way into a standing position. Releasing your arms by your side. Finding a moment to stand here in a mountain pose. Go ahead and bring your feet so that the toes are touching. There's a little bit of space in your heels. And then inhale your hands all the way up. Looking up, stretching up, really creating space in between the vertebrae. Exhaling brings the hands back into a cactus position. Try to put a little bit of back bend here. Inhaling, hands go all the way up, reaching up again, and then exhaling, bringing them into a prayer position. And spending a moment here, dialing down back into your practice. Remembering why you chose to come to your mat and trying to maybe think about what you would like to achieve for the rest of your practice. Just a moment of stillness to check in. But when you're ready, let's keep going. Exhale those hands down by your side. Inhale all the way up again, hands up. Exhale, bend back, cactus your arms. Inhale, back up towards the ceiling. Exhale, swan dive all the way over your legs. Inhale to a flat back, keeping your hands on the ground if you can. Exhale, walk or hop back to a chaturanga. Let's spend a little bit of time here in a high plank position. Keeping your shoulders over your wrists, spine is up, stomach sucks in, legs are long, tipping forward just a little bit more, and then exhaling down into our first chaturanga of the day. Keep those elbows tight and in. Inhale to an upward facing dog, and then exhale into a downward facing dog. Take a moment to catch up your breath here if you need to. Inhaling deeply and exhaling again through your nose, but keeping that breath consistent, bringing both of your feet together to touch, and then inhaling your right leg up and back. Knee comes up towards the ceiling, stacking your hips and creating an openness through the right side. Also allowing your shoulders to stay square towards the front of the mat so that this rotation really is coming through the hips. Using your hips and your knee to draw big circles, opening towards the ceiling on the right side. Reversing into a counterclockwise position, coming all the way around. And then bringing that right foot all the way up, stepping in between your legs, dropping that left knee, and inhaling up to find that feeling of extension through the right hip opener, keeping your hands all the way up here, interlacing your fingers one more time, flipping your fingers up towards the ceiling, and then coming over towards the side. Trying to keep your spine long while you're doing this, but dipping over to the right to feel an extension there through the left. And then inhaling your hands back up, bringing them down by your side, framing the right foot, and straightening that right leg so that the hip is tracing back, the left hip traces back over the left knee, and the right leg goes straight. bending that forward and then straightening it back again. So you're finding a series of slow movements here between postures to create a little bit of a stretch, but also learning how to move between those two. Straightening that and bending again into a 90-degree angle on your right side. Go ahead and lift up that left knee. We're gonna go into a high lunge now instead of a low lunge. So high crescent, hips push forward, left leg is straight, right leg is bent, hands come up, straightening all the way up towards the ceiling, finding a little bit of extension through your spine and trying to not compress into your hips, but staying long through your left extender, reaching all the way up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to take our hands, exhaling them down towards our heart center, and start to find a little bit of movement here between your high crescent lunge and tipping forward into what will be a warrior three. So from this high crescent lunge, just try to start kicking up off of the left foot. See how that feels with a little bit of a bend in the right leg, but then try straightening the right leg as you go. And when you find momentum, come all the way up into a warrior three. If your hands are still at heart center, you can bring them in front of you. I'm running out of space. Or you can keep them at a heart center, but try to straighten that right leg with maybe just a micro bend in the right knee. And then lengthen the left, coming all the way forward. And now we're gonna go from a warrior three to all the way into a standing position at the top of our mats, bringing our feet together. If you feel a burn through the right glute, you should. As I said, it's going to be a little bit spicy. But from the top of your mat, bringing both feet together, but actually we're going to go hips width distance apart. And take your peace fingers and middle finger, huck them. We're coming down over our feet, going to inhale to a flat back, and then exhale, fall forward, trying to find a little bit of a relaxation through the forward fold and making sure, again, that you're releasing through the lower back and also nourishing and catching up to your breath here while you are in this forward fold position. Go ahead and release your fingers, toe heel your feet back together. From forward fold, slowly roll yourself up, vertebrae by vertebrae, all the way up towards a standing position. Mountain pose, inhaling your hands up, exhale, cactus those arms back. Inhaling them up once again, exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale to a flat back, exhale, high plank, go right into a chaturanga, low plank. Inhale, upward facing dog, and exhale back to a downward facing dog. Again, finding a little bit of extra relaxation and some nourishing and some comfort here in down dog, knowing that it ends up being a restful position compared to the flow. When you're ready, bring both of your feet back together. We're going into the left-hand side. So inhale that left leg up and back, and then exhale, open it, keeping your shoulders square towards the front of the mat, but finding that openness through the left hip, using your knee to draw circles on the ceiling. in a counterclockwise position, and then using it to draw circles in the ceiling. In a clockwise position on your next one, bringing that left foot all the way up, dropping the left knee back. Inhaling, dropping the right knee down, but keeping the left at a 90-degree angle. Inhaling your arms up and over, bringing the palms up towards the ceiling, and then dipping towards the right side of your mat, creating that extension through the right side of your body, but also feeling that opener through the left hip and the right hip flexor. And then inhaling back up towards center, exhaling, bringing your hands down to frame your left foot, keeping that left knee down, the right knee down, start to straighten the left leg and bend it again to being forward in a 90-degree angle. Straightening the left brings the right hip over the right knee, and just find a little bit of movement here. I love connecting slow, luxurious movement with my yoga practice because it helps me find a moment of silence and a little bit of comfort, all of which are readily needed right about now. Then when you're back to a 90-degree angle with your left knee, go ahead and curl your right toes under and push up into a high lunge position. Arms go up, we're going to lengthen through this, keeping that knee at a 90-degree angle, right leg is straight. Arms push up towards the ceiling, finding this length here, reaching all the way up. And then exhaling, coming into hands at heart center. Try to start finding a little bit of movement through this posture when we kick up slowly from the right and straighten the left leg. In the meantime, we're heading into Warrior 3, but when you feel comfortable and edge into it, you can start to straighten your left foot, putting all of the weight into that. And then tip forward, right leg goes back, lengthening your spine, feeling the balance as you look forward, and then exhaling, bringing that right leg down to meet the left, coming into a mountain position. Inhaling, arms up overhead, exhaling into a cactus. Inhale, arms back up towards the ceiling, and then exhale, swan dive over your feet. Toe heel your feet out so that they're hips width distance apart. And then walk your hands so that they are all the way under your feet and your toes come to the wrist crease there. Finding length once again, and exhaling all the way down into this forward fold. Again, finding a little bit of movement here to shake through that lower back. Enjoying the beautifulness of the release. Thanking yourself again for the gift of coming to this practice. And then exhaling, bringing both of those feet together. And then slowly rolling up all the way into standing position. Instead of going into another vinyasa right away, I am going to throw in a little bit of a balancing sequence, which was something I meant to say in the beginning that we were doing. But I want to make sure that we're really getting into these standing postures during the times of earthquakes. So I'll talk to the camera a little bit here. Go ahead and straighten yourself towards the front of the mat if you're here. And bring both of your feet together. Feeling into all four corners of your feet and articulating your toes so you know what that feels like when they touch your mat. Then slowly shifting all of your weight into the left foot, bringing the right foot up, and we're going into eagle pose. You're going to wrap your right leg around the left leg, and you can either take it here on the side or bring it all the way around. If your right leg is wrapped over, your right arm is going to go under, and we're going to inhale, wrap those arms, finding length through this extension and bringing our arms all the way up towards the ceiling, trying to keep that wrap I just slipped out of. And then coming down into a crunch so that your elbows touch your knees here. This is also good core work, but let's just see what it feels like to move between these two. Finding that transition up and down. And then if you are here with your right leg wrapped around the left, go ahead and see what it feels like to unwrap that right leg all the way back, keeping eagle arms, coming out to warrior three with eagle arms, and then exhaling that right leg back down. Inhale your eagle arms, come up, exhaling them down by your side, and then stepping your right foot back up towards the top to meet your left. We're not done yet. Going into the other side, let's take your left foot, wrap it all the way around the right. You can keep this to the side, or you can wrap that left all the way around the right calf. And then if left leg is over, left arm is going to go under, finding those eagle arms. And inhale, extends, finds length. Obviously, this is fun for me to work on too, but it really is important, especially during earthquake times, to keep with our balancing poses. Exhaling, crunching those elbows down to meet the knees. Inhaling, back up, finding that extension. And then exhale from this extended, this scrunch position. Try to unwrap that left leg, bringing it all the way back. Feeling what it's like to be in warrior three. Left leg is straight, right. Our arms try to find a little bit of extension, and then tipping back into a high crescent with eagle arms. Finding a little bit of a back bend there. Right should be at a 90-degree angle. But then going ahead and coming back up to the front of your mat. Walking it out there for a quick moment. Again, I didn't say that it was going to be easy, but we're pretty much through the hard stuff. So let's inhale, arms up. Exhale, finds that back bend. Inhale, back up. Exhale, swan dive over your toes. Inhale, finds length. Exhale, we're going from a high plank, but we're not going to chaturanga. We're just going to drop all the way slowly, exhaling to our mat and onto our stomach. Coming into a low position. Let's inhale up into seal, which means that our arms are all the way straight, and we're finding a back bend here. Really stretching out that chest up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, release back down onto your stomach. Inhaling your hands out towards the side. We're going to come up again into another back bend. This time bringing your chest and your legs all the way off the ground. And you can go from here to a forward position also, hands in front, feeling the pressure through the back bend, and also getting a little bit of core into Until you exhale, release all the way back down onto your mat. And then take a moment to windshield wiper your feet back and forth, side to side. We're going to go into one more back bendy position from here with your feet up and back. Inhale your chest up, exhale, grab your ankles. And on your inhale, see if you can stretch up all the way onto your hips, kicking into your feet as hard as you can, really finding the stretch through your heart to act as a heart opener. And then exhaling all the way back down to the mat. So you can even take a moment of rest here if you want. Breathing deeply, and when you're ready, go ahead and just push up. Swing your feet to the side and then bring them out forward. We're gonna go into some postures from our back. So you can go ahead and just lower yourself down here slowly and bring your knees in to hug your chest for a moment. Thanking yourself for the more rigorous parts of that practice, and taking your knees and drawing circles in one direction and then drawing circles in the other direction, if that makes you feel good. Bringing the knees back in and then kicking our feet to grab the sides of our feet and walking our hands into our feet slowly while we do this. You can call this temperamental baby if you want, but creating a little bit of a lower back release there. And then we're going to take our feet down by our side and try to touch the back of your heels to the tips of your fingers, and slowly lifting up your hips, bringing them up towards the ceiling, clasping your hands below your sternum. Shimmy your shoulders under and popping your hips back up to a bridge position. Finding more heart openers here and a little bit of a back bend again, which helps to open up the shoulders. And then exhaling back down vertebrae by vertebrae, coming up to a seated position and folding directly over our feet for a forward fold. I'll come a little bit further up here for this. Go ahead and start by taking your two peace fingers and clasping around both of your toes. Inhaling your chest up and spine long, and then exhaling, fold forward. Breathing deeply as you relax the tension in your back. These forward folds, whether it's seated or whether it's standing, are the best series that you can do for low back pain. And then inhale again, look forward, exhale, try to go from both fingers around your toes, your big toes, to clasping your hands all the way back behind. Inhaling again, flat back, exhale, fold forward. Again, these are pretty much the best that we can do for ourselves to relieve lower back pain. So I'm trying to hit as many of them as possible in as many different ways as possible for all of my friends that do a lot of forward fold movements otherwise, but not in a restorative way. Go ahead and sit up. We're just going to butterfly our legs here for a moment. Bring the soles of the feet to touch. And inhaling forward, exhaling, finding length here. And you can even use your hands to press down your knees. This is an Ashtanga yoga move also, which is a specific type of yoga. And I always have a hard time with these hip openers. That's something I really need to focus on myself moving forward. Inhales, find a little bit of stretch, and exhales get you deeper. Spend a few more breath cycles here, trying to create as much opening through those hip flexors as you can. And then slowly inhaling all the way up. We're going to go into a seated position just for a few moments here. I want to get a little bit more spine twists in. So from a seated position, let's go ahead and take the right hand, put it at 12 o'clock, and twist your spine up and to the side. Inhaling finds length, and exhales twist that a little bit deeper. And then left hand comes forward, right hand comes back. Inhales, find length, exhales, twist you a little bit deeper. And then walk your hands forward all the way back down. Finding another quick shoulder stretch until we're going to roll up slowly, coming back into a seated position, releasing your legs, bringing those in front of you, and rolling all the way back down onto your back. Let's take both legs up and take the left leg over the right leg. First thing that we're gonna do is go into the hips. So with left over right, let's find our ankles and kick into this for a couple moments here. I get a lot of sensation here in my hips when I'm doing this pose, but I love it. It feels super good. I'm proud of you if you're watching all this way through, and I'm even more proud if you're doing this practice at home. Good for you. Release your left hand from your right ankle. Bring that back straight. Keep the left leg entwined over the right. Open up your arms to a T position, and then let your legs fall over to the right. Spine twist to the left, looking over that left hand. Keeping that left shoulder down. Still breathing in and out through your nose here, but starting to slow your breath if you can. We're getting into the more low-key portion of the practice. And then inhaling, I'm getting blasted by the sun right in my face, so I'm gonna scoot down. Inhaling back up to a reverse tabletop position. Let's cross the right over the left and kick into that, finding a little bit of movement through the hips. And again, enjoying the sensation of the extra tension that's created here. Releasing the right hand from the left ankle, keeping the right crossed over the left. Let's let both of those feet or knees fall towards the left side of the mat. Hands go back out, but looking over the right. I love moments of silence in my yoga practices. I've said this before, but the gift of silence is something that I really enjoy in my day. Just having quiet time means so much to me. Go ahead and bring your knees back up. You can bring them into a hug. And go ahead and just roll around here a little bit on your spine, giving a massage to those vertebrae that don't normally get it. And then exhaling brings both of your feet up into a savasana. Knees, ankles go a little bit wider than your hips. Hands go open and flat. Breathing deeply and inhaling here. Let yourself relax deeply into the next few moments. I'm not going to end the yoga practice here, so if you're watching this video, take as much time as you would like in Savasana, but I am going to close with a couple extra postures. So in case you want to just clip out now, don't, but let yourself deepen your breaths until you're relaxing all the way into the mat. Clearing your mind once again. Slowing down your breath. When you're ready, go ahead and start wiggling your fingers and your toes. Bring your hands up and over your head. Walking those toes out in front longer. Finding as much length as you'd like here. And then before we roll up, let's take a moment to bring both our fingers and our toes to one side of the mat and then create a C curve by bringing our hips over towards the left. Feeling another stretch through our side body. Straightening once again and then coming over towards the left with our fingers and our toes, but right hips go towards the side. Again, strengthening and lengthening through the right. Inhaling back up to a tall position, finding as much length as you can, and then bringing it over to cradle, bringing your arm under the side of your head, whichever way that could be, right or left. I don't have a preference. There's yoga tradition that says both ways. Try to keep your eyes closed here, and while you're in this super nourishing and comforting position, and just take an extra moment to appreciate yourself and this precious gift of a body that you've been given. It's super beautiful. All of our bodies are. The fact that we have them is pretty neat. And then with your eyes closed, push back up into a seated position. Coming all the way up so your spine is tall, your head comes all the way up towards the ceiling. Hands can go on top of your knees, either down to ground down or up if you'd like to receive. Trying to keep your spine tall again here and your eyes closed. Just feel what it's like to be in a seated position at the end of your sequence, and what it's like to connect to your mat through your hips, letting your knees fall open. Just a little bit. Bringing your hands to heart center and dialing down, looking at your fingertips. connecting back into whatever that intention was when we were in standing prayer position about the rest of the practice, or even the rest of your day or moving forward. Inhaling deeply and exhaling all the way to the bottom of your lungs, finding that last sip of air to push out at the bottom. We're going into an Om by inhaling all the way deeply, filling our lungs, and at the top of the inhale, we'll start the Om together. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do love teaching. Again, my name is Maggie Mesa. I get to be a yoga instructor and an artist and a marketing consultant, all of which are things I really care about and I'm good at, and I feel really privileged to be able to share the things that I love with the people that share their lives with me through social media. So thank you to everybody that's watched all this way through. I really appreciate you. I'm glad you did some yoga, and I encourage you to try to take some of the principles of the mat into the rest of your lives, and hopefully I'll get to talk to you soon. Thank you.